Story number 10. My happy child became angry.
Mommy, he's always pulling my hair and pushing me on the sidewalk. What is wrong with Ben?
Cynthia asked her mom. I don't know, dear. I'll talk to him when he comes back from playing outside, Mrs. Smith said in a worried voice. She had noticed that Cynthia's twin brother, Ben, had been acting strangely these days. He had been such a happy child, but now he seemed to be angry all the time, and for no reason that she could understand anyway. He had been best friends with his sister once, but now they were fighting all the time. He would pull her hair, pinch her, throw her toys, and destroy her dolls. She just couldn't understand what had gotten into him. Mrs. Smith thought, I will just have to talk to him and see why he is behaving this way. So when Ben got back from having spent the evening with his friends, his mother asked him to sit and talk to her for a while. What is it, Mom? I have to watch my favorite cartoon show, Ben whined to his mom. Mrs. Smith said, What is going on, Ben? Is something wrong? Your sister is also complaining about you. I don't want to play with her anymore, Ben exclaimed angrily. Stop this right now, Ben. I will not tolerate this behavior, Mrs. Smith said strictly. She's your sister, and you will not talk about her like this. Both of you were best friends. What has happened now? I have new friends, and I don't want to be friends with girls, Ben answered meanly. Mrs. Smith just stared at her son in surprise. What are you talking about? What do you mean you don't want to be friends with girls? Did your new friend say something like this? Ben looked at his mother hesitantly and said, 2 new boys came to our kindergarten and said only girls are friends with girls. They said if I wanted to be in their cool group, I would have to stop being friends with Cynthia and all the other girls in our class. That is very mean and rude of them and you, Ben Smith, Mrs. Smith said in shock. I will not allow this. You will talk to your friends and explain how wrong this behavior is. Ben got up with tears of anger in his eyes and yelled, I won't! You can't make me! I like my new friends, and I don't want to be friends with girls anyway. He then rushed out of the room. Mrs. Smith called out, Come back right here, young man. I'm talking to you. But Ben didn't come back. Mrs. Smith knew she would have to talk to his kindergarten teacher, so she could have a talk with all 3 boys. So the next day, she talked to Ben's teacher and asked her to handle the matter, because Ben was turning into a very angry child. The teacher grew worried too, and decided to talk to the whole class about how hurtful this attitude was. Do you know, children, how mean it is to be friends with some and ignore others? There is no such thing as cool boys or girls. All children are good, and they should be friends, especially when they are in the same kindergarten class. I know you are all very kind children and will never want to hurt each other. And I know you are all good friends. All children listened to her quietly and Ben and his two new friends were ashamed of their behavior. The teacher then made groups in class where Ben and his two new friends had girls in their groups. She gave them activities and needed all of them to work together and help each other. That day, when Ben came home, he was playing with his sister and did not seem angry at all. He went up to Mrs. Smith and said, "I'm sorry for being mean, Mom. Our teacher told us how we hurt others by being mean and that all boys and girls were good. I will never be rude again, and I will be friends with Cynthia and all the girls in my class." Mrs. Smith hugged him and said, "That's like my good boy."